Increasingly desperate, Meghan Markle flies into the UK. F off back to Montecito.
They are here. Meghan Markle, Archie, and Lilibet did not remain hidden in California, and they did not leave Harry to face the final days of his difficult week in Britain alone.
Surprising news out of Buckingham Palace. Prince Harry and his family make the long-awaited royal visit to the King and Queen.
And it does come after the usual royal drama.
Instead, they reportedly arrived in the United Kingdom quietly, traveled to Highgrove, and joined Harry for a private meeting with King Charles and Queen Camilla. After days of confusion, denials, security concerns, palace disagreements, and reports claiming the family visit had fallen apart, the Sussexes may have delivered the biggest surprise of the entire trip.
At first, it seemed security concerns might keep Harry, Meghan, and the kids away, but since he split with the family, Harry has had a rocky relationship with his father. Now it appears, though, it was the king who very much wanted this to happen.
And suddenly, one part of this week starts to look completely different. We kept asking the same questions every time Harry appeared in public. Why was he smiling? Why was he laughing?
The Duke of Delusion has tried to put a smile on his face as he leaves Chatham House and new footage with a thumbs up. With a thumbs up to try and suggest that everything is okay.
Why did he seem so calm after losing a major court case, getting caught up in another palace accommodation dispute, and facing headlines that made his return look like a total disaster? Now, there may finally be an explanation. Harry may have already known Meghan and the children were on their way. He may have known the family meeting was still going ahead. While everyone else believed his week was falling apart, Harry may have been focused on the one plan that mattered most.
Harry usually looks pretty... he can be pretty grumpy looking, and especially when he's had a really terrible week. I was expecting him to put on a brave face, but he literally bounded into the somewhat deserted NEC Centre with a smile plastered all over his face.
Before we continue, one quick thing. One thing I've realized is that most families don't have their important information organized in one place. That's exactly why I recommend the Family Vault, a simple, printable, and fillable organizer where you can keep everything from important documents and insurance to medical information, passwords. You'll find the link in the description, or you can simply scan the QR code on your screen. Now let's get back to today's story. That completely changes the picture. Harry was not simply walking around Britain with nothing left to fight for. He may have been counting down the hours until his family arrived, and his father had the chance to see his grandchildren again for the first time since 2022.
It's a circus.
His smiles were not necessarily a sign that the court defeat meant nothing. They may have reflected his belief that something much more important was about to happen behind closed doors. But this surprise also raises a much bigger question. Why was everything kept so secret? Why did Meghan stay away from every public appearance?
But she doesn't want things to be private. She doesn't want things to look like they have the appearance of still being on the outside if, no one can see that they are benefiting from being in alignment with royalty again. Because the Sussex brand was built on the royal connection.
Why were Harry's events presented as solo engagements, while the rest of his family stayed completely out of sight? And why did confirmation only come after the reported meeting had already taken place? This did not look like an ordinary family visit. It appeared carefully managed from beginning to end. Buckingham Palace confirmed that Charles and Camilla hosted Harry, Meghan, and the children at Highgrove on Friday.
The Sussexes' star is fading fast. It's dipping below the horizon. They've understood now for a long time that the public's interest in them is only based upon their proximity to the royal family. The more distant they grow from the royal family, the less relevant they become. Nobody's interested in another wannabe Martha Stewart. It's all about the proximity to the institution of the crown.
The palace described it as a private family occasion, and reports say no photographs or additional details are expected. We still do not know how long the visit lasted. We do not know what was discussed. We do not know whether apologies were exchanged, boundaries were reinforced, or future visits were mentioned. The public was given one simple update, and almost everything else remained private. That silence may have been part of what made the meeting possible. Before Harry arrived, reports suggested that any private family time would come with strict conditions. No cameras, no Instagram posts afterward, no commercial projects connected to the visit, no interview in America revealing what Charles said behind closed doors. In other words, the palace appeared determined to make sure another private royal moment would not later become material for a documentary, a podcast, a book, or a publicity campaign.
Even ask her to hand over her devices before any such face-to-face.
That is why this reunion matters far beyond one afternoon at Highgrove. Charles did not invite the media into the room. He reportedly welcomed his son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren instead. The doors closed, the cameras stayed outside, and the palace remained in control of what was shared publicly. For once, privacy appeared to be a firm condition of the meeting rather than just a hopeful promise. But can that privacy really hold?
There is a camera crew coming for the Invictus Games. It's always for the Invictus Games, isn't it? Yeah, right.
That is the biggest question now. Harry has reportedly assured his father that he will not speak publicly about the meeting. Even so, past private family moments have often been followed by worldwide headlines. The Oprah interview included family allegations. The Netflix series revisited private disagreements. Spare turned years of royal tensions into a best-selling memoir. Because of that history, every new attempt at reconciliation brings the same question. Is this truly a private family step? Or could it become the start of another public chapter?
They weren't able to stick to these rules. They aren't planning to stick to these rules.
And Meghan's reported presence makes that question even more important. Meghan understands how powerful public attention can be. She knows the impact of one photograph, one carefully timed appearance, and one unexpected royal moment. A picture of Charles with Archie and Lilibet would have spread around the world within minutes.
The titles matter. Having an open family connection matters to Meghan Markle. Knowing that they have proximity to royalty, it matters. So the story only works if Harry still has some doorway back into the royal world.
A photograph of Meghan arriving at Highgrove could have dominated front pages everywhere. It might even have changed the public conversation around her in Britain almost overnight. But none of that happened. There was no photograph, no smiling arrival, no carefully staged family picture outside the house. So why agree to a meeting that reportedly produced no immediate public moment at all? Was Meghan prepared to accept strict conditions because rebuilding family ties mattered more this time? Or does she believe the real value could come later, after the visit is over? Many people are likely to wonder whether such a carefully managed reunion has a larger purpose behind it.
Already, this Megson deal is a joke because we're talking about a camera crew for the Invictus Games. They always say it's for the Invictus Games, but also a camera crew for Althorpe. So the idea that they're coming to the United Kingdom and this is a private visit and it's not just a content farming operation for them, I think is total rubbish.
That does not automatically mean there is anything suspicious about it. The explanation could be much simpler. Charles is undergoing cancer treatment, time has passed, and Harry has repeatedly said he wants reconciliation. The children have had very limited contact with their grandfather. A private meeting may have been the most sensible way to protect everyone from an intense media spotlight. At the same time, because the Sussexes have publicly shared parts of their royal experience before, many people will naturally wonder whether this reunion was about family, strategy, or perhaps a combination of both. What happens next may answer that question. Will the Sussexes leave Britain without revealing a single private detail? Will there be no photographs, no emotional statement, and no anonymous briefing describing how the meeting went? Will Meghan return to California and let the moment stay completely private? Or will carefully chosen details begin appearing over the coming days, each one shaping the public story of a royal reconciliation that nobody outside the room was able to witness?
They lie like Pinocchio. Last Friday, Eden writes, they all received a long message confirming details of Prince Harry and Meghan's return visit to Britain. It wasn't just the type of short message they sometimes receive, but a long operational note detailing exactly what the couple would be doing after they landed in the country.
The timing also makes this story even more interesting. Before the reported family meeting, Harry's week looked like a complete disaster. his legal case against the publisher of the Daily Mail was dismissed. The ruling raised fresh questions about the strength of his claims, the legal costs, his overall strategy, and whether years of courtroom battles had delivered the outcome he had hoped for. Yet only moments later, Harry appeared calm, joked about the hot weather, and carried on with his Invictus schedule as if nothing had happened. That reaction surprised a lot of people. After such a major legal setback, many expected Harry to look disappointed.
Meghan and Harry won. They got everything they wanted. They haven't had to say as much as a sorry or a by your leave or an excuse me. And today they got the thing that they'd been looking for all this time, FaceTime with the king.
Instead, he kept smiling, greeting people, and moving through his engagements as though the biggest headline of the week had not shaken him at all. Was that simply self-control? Was he refusing to give photographers the reaction they were waiting for? Or was he smiling because he already knew Meghan and the children were expected to be joining him in Britain very soon? Reports suggested the family had been elsewhere in Europe before entering the UK. If that is accurate, it would have allowed them to stay close without revealing the final plan too early. Harry could complete his public appearances while Meghan stayed away from the cameras?
By doing that, Harry has just completely undermined the argument that he has spent months making that the country is too unsafe for his family.
Then, once the security arrangements and family schedule were reportedly in place, they could travel to Highgrove quietly, without creating the public spectacle that had surrounded the visit for weeks. If that was the plan, it certainly appeared to work. For days, the media questioned whether Meghan had abandoned the trip altogether. Commentators debated whether she would ever return to Britain. Reports claimed security concerns had ruined any chance of a family reunion. Harry was photographed on his own, and his family's absence became almost as big a story as the events he was attending. Then, at the very end, everything reportedly changed. Meghan had not necessarily rejected the UK itself. Instead, she appeared to avoid only the public side of the visit,
where people have not seen them because they use the private VIP entrance and exits at the airport. These two are capable of coming over here in privacy if they want to.
That difference is incredibly important. Meghan was not beside Harry after the court ruling. She did not appear at his Invictus engagements. She avoided British crowds, difficult questions, and the possibility of an uncomfortable public reaction. Instead, she reportedly arrived only for the most significant private family moment of the entire week. Critics may argue she skipped the hardest moments and appeared only when a meeting with the king became possible. Supporters may see it differently, believing she was protecting her children and respecting the palace's request for privacy. So which explanation do you believe?
Obviously, your kids and Meghan must be so proud of you. Do they tell you every day? They tell me every day that they're proud of me.
No, they don't, because they're not proud of you. She's not proud of you. She's using you, but she's not proud of you. It's almost so tragic that he can't see it.
Did Meghan finally put family ahead of publicity? Or did she choose the one appearance that could carry the greatest long-term value while avoiding the public pressure surrounding the rest of the trip? That is exactly why all the secrecy has not stopped the speculation. It has only made the questions even bigger. And there is another issue to consider. Before the reported reunion, a recent podcast discussion examined claims of a new understanding between the Sussexes and the royal family. According to those reports, the arrangement was straightforward. Harry and Meghan could continue their commercial work in America, but any private family time with the royal family in Britain had to remain completely separate from business. No merching, no filming private royal meetings, no turning a family visit into promotional content.
The oxygen goes out of their attempts to make lots of money because America, Spotify, Netflix, everybody's turned their back because they've seen this couple for what they are. The only thing that they've got left is to not ingratiate themselves, but have a little bit of a visit, be seen, because I don't trust them. I think it will be out there with pictures and everything. I think they've proven that.
On paper, that arrangement sounds straightforward. In reality, it immediately raises more questions. Reports also suggested that a camera crew would be connected to Harry's Invictus activities. That could be completely reasonable because Invictus is a public project, and filming those events is very different from filming Charles at Highgrove. But once a camera crew is traveling alongside the wider Sussex operation, the line becomes much harder to define. Where does coverage of the charity end? And where does Sussex content begin?
the timing for me is just a little bit too suspect, just because of years of covering Harry and Meghan, all of the games, all of the lies, everything that we've seen since Megxit. They plot, they plan, and this to me just seems like something out of Meghan and Harry's playbook, hence why they suddenly turned around and said, do you know what, the kids are coming.
The same questions surround reports of a possible visit to Althorp, Princess Diana's family estate and burial place. Harry is believed to want his children to learn more about their grandmother's legacy, and a private family visit would be deeply personal. At the same time, some commentators have wondered whether any footage could eventually be used in a future documentary about Diana.
I personally do not trust Harry and Meghan, and when they have put out statements saying, of course we're not working on a Diana documentary, I personally do not believe them. They are both very obsessed with Diana. Harry has taken ownership over Diana's memory. Meghan likes to dress like Diana. It's not once or twice, it's been continuously. It's not just from a few years ago.
If cameras are seen anywhere near that visit, the debate over privacy is likely to grow even louder. Just think about the contrast. The reported Highgrove meeting was considered too private for even a single photograph. Yet another part of the same trip could potentially be filmed for future content. The palace may have drawn a firm boundary around Charles, but can it influence what happens after the Sussexes leave royal property? Can Harry promise that one family meeting will remain completely private, while other emotional parts of the journey are later shared publicly?
Harry would be stupid enough to believe that his wife just wants the children to connect with their grandmother. Harry, they might feel the spirit of your mother like I did, you know, and he'd just follow along with it because it's Harry. But yeah, I think this is more to do with what this trip is about than what it was a reconciliation with the king.
This is exactly where the long-running trust issue comes back again. Royal aides are not only concerned about a hidden phone inside a room, they also worry about private memories being described later, conversations being retold from memory, and emotional moments being presented from only one perspective. Even if every camera and phone stayed outside Highgrove, everyone inside would still remember what happened.
The king is still kind of supporting Harry. I think it's just not good. You have seen what they have done in the past. Learn from that. They have already put a lot of things out there that don't look good for the monarchy in terms of the allegations that Harry is trying to walk back now.
In the end, the real protection is not removing recording devices. It is trusting that private conversations will stay private. That trust has faced serious challenges over the years. After earlier family meetings, different versions of the same events often appeared in public. One source described a warm meeting. Another suggested it was brief. One claimed real progress had been made. Another insisted nothing had changed. That is why the reported conditions surrounding this visit sounded so strict. No cameras, no social media posts, no later public retelling of private conversations. Those reported rules did not appear out of nowhere.
Now, when Annie Granny said there is no way on God's green earth Charles Spencer will allow any filming at his sister's grave, they keep it covered year-round because of drones trying to get a pic, not a single chance, and if they sneaked it, he would go absolutely ballistic. According to Taz replied, the Queen didn't think they'd film inside palace grounds, but they did. Even her childhood tea house.
They reflected years of concern about private family moments becoming public stories. Harry reportedly accepted those conditions because the meeting mattered so much. For years, he has argued that Britain was not safe enough for his family without the level of security he believed was necessary. He has repeatedly said that the lack of automatic police protection made visits far more difficult. Yet after another security dispute and another disagreement over accommodation, the family still reportedly managed to travel to Britain and reach Highgrove privately.
His people release he's under threat from at least 6 plots in the UK.
Very important. He's a very important person.
And Dan Wootton, he responded like, this is the most ridiculous, artificial, made-up document. It comes from Harry's office.
That point is now likely to become part of the wider debate. Critics may ask how Meghan and the children were reportedly able to travel safely if earlier reports suggested the visit was so difficult to arrange. They may point out that the family arrived without a public airport spectacle, moved without large crowds following them, and completed the reported meeting without disruption. If privacy and security were possible this time, many people will wonder why the trip had previously been described as being so close to falling apart.
Yeah, when I'm in London, I'll be on my own, but I might take Megs and the kids up to Birmingham.
I mean, it's one country. These that he's worried about, and the stalkers, although I would have thought Harry's stalker has had enough now. I think she's checked out. I think even she's like, look, I'm sick of this guy. Please don't mention Harry's name again. Yes, I might be his stalker, but I am out. Does he not think that they can get on a train? Does he not think that they have access to public transport? Does he not think they could even maybe hire a car and drive from dangerous London to incredibly safe, idyllic Birmingham? Make it make sense.
Harry's response may simply be that this visit required exceptional security arrangements that cannot be guaranteed every time. One successful private trip does not automatically settle the wider security debate. But from a public perspective, the image is still incredibly powerful. The family reportedly came, the meeting reportedly took place, nobody was harmed, and the entire plan stayed out of the spotlight until it was over.
So glad Prince Harry took police off the London streets from fighting crimes to manage this massive, massive crowd. It's journalists, look.
That brings us right back to Harry's smile. Maybe he was not ignoring everything that had gone wrong around him. Maybe he was getting through it because he believed the most important moment of the week was still ahead. The court defeat was public. The palace disagreement was public. The accommodation dispute was public. But the one outcome he seemed to care about most remained private, protected, and getting closer with every passing hour. Just imagine the pressure behind the scenes. One leak could have ruined the entire plan. One airport photograph might have drawn huge media attention toward the family. One public comment from Meghan could have made the palace rethink everything. One emotional statement from Harry after the court ruling might have convinced Charles that nothing had really changed.
They called the British royal family racist. So why is it when the jam orders dry up that what they want is to be seen or a picture or some news about, as you said, they're still close to the royal family?
That gave Harry every reason to stay calm, smile for the cameras, and avoid doing anything that could have jeopardized the reported meeting. For once, holding back may have made all the difference. Harry released a statement after the court defeat, but he did not immediately sit down for a lengthy interview while the reported reunion was still uncertain. Meghan did not share a celebratory message from Britain. The palace did not publicly reveal every detail before the family reportedly arrived. Everyone appeared to keep enough control for the meeting to go ahead. That is why so many people are questioning the bigger purpose. Was this simply a grandfather spending time with his grandchildren? Was it Harry showing that he could still reconnect with his father? Was Meghan exploring whether she could return to Britain privately, without facing public attention? Was this the first step toward a much longer reconciliation? Or could it eventually become part of a future project that shares some parts of the story while keeping the palace's private moments hidden?
And it's also Netflix are hanging on to them. They're throwing them little tidbits and bones. I don't think Netflix are hanging around for Carly Fortune's book. I don't think Netflix are hanging around because they might buy some sort of war film that Harry and Meghan are producing. Would they hang around for footage of Lily and Archie at Althorpe? Like, you know, at Diana's gravesite, photographs? Oh, yeah, absolutely. That would be gold for Harry, for Meghan, well, let's be honest, for Meghan.
The answer may depend on what happens after this. If no private details are revealed, no photographs emerge, and no commercial project later centers around the reported reunion, then this could become one of the clearest signs yet that Harry understands how difficult rebuilding trust can be. In that case, the silence itself would speak volumes. The restraint would matter more than any emotional interview, and what remains unseen could become the biggest story of all. But if a documentary trailer later includes footage from the wider UK trip, the questions will come back even louder. If anonymous sources suddenly begin describing what Charles reportedly said during the meeting, the palace may feel those private conditions meant very little.
They know that their only thing that's ever brought in decent money has been to do with the royal family. There's all of this drama that's come out of nowhere. They are the masters behind it. They're the ones pulling the strings. They're the one releasing the operational notes and pulling the plug.
Before we continue, I want to mention something really quick. Organizing your family's important information is one of those things most of us know we should do, but we keep putting it off. That's exactly why there's the Family Vault. It gives you one place to organize your important documents, insurance, medical information, passwords, and more, so everything is easy to find when it's needed. You'll find the link in the description, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. That's all. Now, let's get back to today's story. And if Meghan announces a new product, a series, or a major interview soon after, critics are likely to argue that the timing was far from a coincidence. And there is one final twist to all of this. The secrecy that reportedly protected the meeting also created the biggest surprise of the entire week. For days, people believed Meghan had stayed away. Harry appeared completely alone. The family reunion looked impossible. Then everything suddenly changed. Reports suggested she had been in Britain after all. Whether that was planned or not, the mystery generated far more attention than a publicly announced visit ever could.
And everybody's talking about reconciliation, Harry reconciling with his father, his father seeing the grandchildren. Let's not forget Thomas Markle. Thomas Markle hasn't seen his grandchildren at all, although the king did in 2022, and he's never met his son-in-law. So, is reconciliation on both sides. Let's not just make it one-sided.
That is exactly why this story is far from finished. The reported reunion may have taken place, but the real test starts after the Sussexes leave Highgrove. Can Harry keep the details completely private? Can Meghan avoid turning the moment into another public conversation? Will the palace feel confident enough to allow another private family meeting in the future? And can a family that has spent years making headlines finally rebuild trust away from them?
So that's just never going to be good. You're just asking for trouble, and I think it could be a direct reflection to the monarchy when there is still this couple trying to dictate things for their own careers, their own futures.
Harry's difficult week may have ended with the one outcome almost nobody expected. He lost in court, faced another disagreement involving the palace, and appeared to be standing on his own. Yet behind the scenes, Meghan and the children were reportedly getting closer. Suddenly, his smile seems easier to understand. The secrecy appears to have had a purpose, but the biggest question of all still remains unanswered. So, what do you think? Was this really a genuine family reunion kept away from the cameras? Or was it the first carefully managed step towards something much bigger? Why did Meghan reportedly accept complete privacy when the Sussex story has so often played out in public? Will the reported Highgrove conditions still hold once they return to America? And what happens if cameras appear during the next deeply personal family moment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Was Harry smiling because he already knew the surprise was coming? Did Meghan finally choose family ahead of public attention? Or did the Sussexes simply pull off their most effective media strategy yet? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to Hollywood Yesterday, and stay tuned, because the reported private meeting may be over, but the biggest questions are only getting started.